Most of us end the day wondering where all the time went. We turned up, we dealt with all of the fires, we attended all of our meetings, but the important stuff that we really wanted to get done didn't stand a chance because the day happened to us. Your attention has been pulled in 10 different directions. The day is filled with things that you didn't plan to do, and the space that you had set aside for your focus just disappeared. If that's you, don't worry, it's normal. It's just a symptom of brain overload. But there are simple steps that you can do to overcome that and become more productive and more efficient. Today's guest is Zahra Saleh. She is a mindset and leadership coach who helps people regain their focus one step at a time. She has combined psychology and neuroscience and her own lived experience to create what she calls the ultimate focus framework. She's going to show us how a few small, repeatable steps will make your days calmer, clearer, and more productive. So if you feel overwhelmed by the sheer volume of work that you have to do, or reactive because you're always responding to interruptions and alerts, or constantly being pulled off of your track by other people, this episode and Zahra's advice is for you. Let's get into it. Zahra, welcome to my show. Thank you for joining me today. Today, we're talking about those days where you get to the end of the day and you feel exhausted. You've maybe had back-to-back meetings and you feel like you've done a ton, but then you look back at your list and you realize that, those important things that you knew that you really needed to get done are still waiting there to be done. So you have a choice, either like carry on working now and be late and all of the knock-on effects of that, or it goes on to my to-do list for tomorrow, and then the spiral continues. And today we're going to walk through your method of how people like me can improve our days and get more focus and therefore get more done. Now, before we actually dive into your framework, I'd love to hear from you about why this is important to you. Why did you go into this? Why did you look at it? Why have you built a framework? What's your background?
Yeah, so for a decade, I led tech transformation projects and program. And throughout that, the complexity increased and my responsibilities increased. Now I've been known for being calm under pressure, reliable, organized, often being told by my team, like, thank you for organizing us. Thank you for keeping us on track. But internally, there was a struggle that I couldn't express. It felt like there was a heavy cognitive load, but everything on the outside was going fine, was going more than fine. So I didn't know how to approach it. The problem wasn't really clear to me, but I just knew there was a struggle and a burnout.
What
And it
do you mean by
wasn't,
that? So it sounds to me like you were helping other people be really organized, but am I hearing that you internally felt you weren't organized?
yeah, it was taxing. Like organization didn't come naturally to me. I'll give you an
Right.
example. As like there was a time when the project size increased, the complexity increased. I would have multiple meetings with multiple complex conversations. And I would walk into a meeting and I'm listening and focused and I'm thinking, yeah, I get it. Like everything makes sense. Walk out of the meeting and poof, it all disappears.
Vacant. Go on. Yeah.
Blank. And I would be talking to someone from my team, like my tech lead, and following the meeting, and you'll just be talking like he remembers things. And I just kept thinking to myself, why don't I remember? I
Yeah.
understood
Why
everything
me?
in the meeting, but yeah, why me?
Yeah.
Same thing happened with emails. I started to feel that I'm writing an email, it all makes sense. I read it back. Unfortunately, sometimes after sending it, and it makes no sense. There are words missing. I flip some letters, and I just started to feel that I have a struggle that I don't see others have. I
Right.
see others just write an email, shoot it off, and it's fine. They remember everything after a meeting. Like, it's just they holding things together with ease. For me, I had to work extra hard in the background, and I just couldn't figure out why. And because I was doing well and I never had a negative feedback and my performance was pretty good, no one picked up on it either.
Right.
It was pure coincidence that one day I read an article. It was like an online thing about dyslexia. And as I was reading through it, I was like, oh my God, that sounds so awfully like
That's
me.
me.
It's a bit
Yes.
scary. And I went to my line manager at the time and I said it, I just said it randomly in a conversation that I think I'm dyslexic. And she asked me why I think so. And I was like, I don't know, I read this article and it just sounds so awfully like me. And she dismissed it and she said, no, you just think too fast. It's not a thing.
Right.
And then I mentioned it again to the next manager. And that manager luckily just said to me, listen, we can pay for an assessment. You can go and get a dyslexia assessment and you can find out whether you are or not. I did. And oh my God, the results were like, I am very dyslexic. It came
Okay.
up that my working memory is very poor, like it's way below average, which means that I should struggle with holding conversations like from meetings, organization, time management, pretty much 90% of my job. But I think I was compensating for that because the report also said that I had a very high processing speed and strong reasoning skills. And I think that covered for kind of like somehow I managed to compensate and survive and perform at a high level, but it was taking such a heavy cognitive load on my brain.
So it sounds like you're almost a really fast processing machine that works really, really well in the moment. But then when you walk away from
Yeah.
the moment,
Yeah.
it all sort of falls apart.
Exactly, especially if it's something like the short-term memory. That's the working memory is now us having a conversation that is saved in a short-term memory. And
Yeah.
that's the part for me that doesn't function well in my brain.
Right.
Long-term
Right.
memory is better, but it wouldn't get to the long term if it's not saved in the short term. So it's a
Yeah.
bit of a cycle.
Yeah.
So
And
for
we should
me,
be clear that
yeah,
we're not talking today really, are we, about dyslexia as
no,
such? That's
yeah,
just how you found out. And then you needed some practices to put into place so that you could function better. You know,
yeah,
the dyslexia may have been the reason why, but there'll
yeah.
be a load of people listening or watching to this who maybe are dyslexic or maybe are not. But what we're going to go through today will help everybody
Oh,
become
yes,
more focused and more productive.
absolutely. Whether someone has any neurodiversity profiling or not, we all struggle with focus because nowadays our environment has changed and there's just an attention deficit because
Yeah.
everything is calling for our attention. So it applies to everyone, absolutely. But for me, that's when I went into the search. That's when I kind of threw myself into reading about psychology, neurodiversity, neuroscience, and self development. One of my close friends is a psychologist, so kept feeding me books on like mind mastery and habits. So that kind of opened for me a learning journey because I thought, well, now I know what it is. Now I can figure out a system.
Right.
And I knew that I just couldn't operate the way I was because then I want to grow in my career. I want to handle more complexity. So I need a system. I need to design something that complements and work with my brain and the way I think. And that
Right.
started the mind tactics journey.
And
And then
and
I met my coach.
that's really interesting
Mm,
for me too, because I mean,
mm,
as I said at the beginning, I recognize this. You know, like
yeah.
I am not dyslexic, or at least I don't think I am.
Mm,
But I feel the same as you. You know, there's
yeah.
so much going on. There's so many pings and alerts and Slack messages and meetings and interruptions, and it's really hard to keep focused sometimes on what you've got to do now, let alone the secondary things, let alone the third things and the more important things. So having some kind of a system, I think this will help me, let alone you or other people.
Yeah. And the thing with the system is very simple. And if it works for my dyslexic brain who struggles with focus, it should definitely work for anyone else. If I can figure it out and like design something that works for me and be able to do the things that my brain shouldn't be on paper be able to do, then it's foolproof and it should work for everybody else.
Good. And
Mhm.
who do you think we are talking to today? And, who would you like to reach out and talk to?
So this is for, I would say, people who might see themselves capable. Maybe they are a safe hands at work. they know how to do their job, but somehow the day passes, they feel very busy, they're constantly working, but at the end of the day, it feels that they haven't touched the work that really matters.
Right.
Um, and we're not just talking about managers and leaders. Anyone who
Right.
is not just managing people, but managing work, activities, even managing your own life, that's a form of leadership. And this is
Right.
applicable for anyone as such.
And it's not just, is it, about prioritization, having a list and saying, I'm going to do my top 3 today, no matter what, and then disregarding everything else, because that's generally not very practical in the working environment.
Yes, it's a multi-layered system, right? It's about predicting your day to a certain degree and allowing some flexibility as well. So if
Right.
we leave everything to chance and if we leave the day to unfold, then there's a higher risk that the chaos could take over and we're being pulled in different directions.
Right.
Whereas if you plan, design a system, and you can predict a certain level of your day, then it just means that if there's like 80% of your day is managed and planned and predicted, you can leave a 20% for anything that could be thrown in, the unknown changes, etc. And that means you are in the driving seat rather than just letting the day pull you in different directions.
You're a driver rather than a passenger, which
Yeah.
is something that another guest of mine talked about, which made complete sense. He talked about drivers, passengers, and bystanders. So
Mm.
yeah, I would like to be a
Yeah.
driver. I get that.
Yes.
Now you talk about the mental stage.
Mm.
Talk about that concept, because I think that's core to a lot of what we're going to talk about.
Yeah. So that's a really interesting concept that was illustrated by David Rock. He wrote a book called Your Brain at Work, and he talks about the mental stage being your prefrontal cortex. So think of it. So your prefrontal cortex is your command center. That's where decisions, thoughts, as in your imagination, your decision making, your reasoning, all of that lives in that part of the brain. So, and it's a small part of your brain as well. So think of it as a metaphor, a small stage. And that stage can only hold a certain number of actors at one time.
Okay.
And those actors are the tasks, the decisions, the conversations, everything that you do through the day. So, in order for the scene to work, you need to have a limited number of actors on the stage. And then the spotlight should be moving from one actor to another to give them fair amount to deliver the scene and the script. So, for the scene to work. If you start to overload the stage with too many actors, then they start pumping into each other, they start forgetting the script, and the whole scene just becomes chaos.
And I guess with the theatre, you're right. You might have 3 actors on the stage at the times, but in the wings there are more actors who at
Yeah,
various times will come on. And so you have the similar concept here too.
absolutely. So there are multiple tasks, and think of the actors that are sitting on the side and off the stage. In the tool, I call that the parking lot. So you can park everything that doesn't need to come on stage now. Doesn't mean that it will not get a chance to come on stage. It will, but it has to follow the scene. There's that the scene is the structure and the spotlight is your focus that moves from one task to another, one actor to another.
Right. And why don't I just use more willpower or something, or pull myself together and take a bit more control or something? Why I guess what I'm trying to say is, why do I need a framework to help me with this, rather than just going, get over yourself, Jeremy, work harder, be more organized, get more stuff done?
Well, I'd say two things. Firstly, willpower, I think of it as more of the starting engine. Willpower can get you started, but it cannot keep you consistent throughout the journey. You can't
Right.
restart the car every time you drive. You'll break it.
Right.
You start once, you give yourself a push of fuel, but then the consistency and the driving smoothly is your design day, the predictability.
Got it.
So
That makes total sense.
think of it as, well, there's another thing as well. Sometimes we overestimate how much we can control things around us, and we underestimate the impact of the environment. How our world designed today is different to how it was only just 10 years ago. Think about it. Before COVID, just about 5 years ago,
Yep.
most of us used to go to the office 5 days a week.
Yes.
A lot of
I remember
companies
those tube journeys very well.
exactly, right? And many companies didn't have the laptop culture. So you'd have a desktop at your desk and you
Yes,
physically go
yes.
into a meeting room. And when you do that, you're leaving your computer behind. You can't carry a desktop around the office, right?
Right. Yeah.
And many of us didn't have a smartwatch. And many people also didn't have Outlook and chats, etc., on their phone. So you're walking into a meeting with just a notebook and you
Right.
focus, you're listening, and then you move into the next. Now it's a completely different. Now you are on a virtual meeting, and whilst you're in the meeting, you have your email open, you have chat messages, you have your smartwatch buzzing on your wrist, and everything and everyone is calling for your attention at the same time. I mean,
Yes.
some of us
Yes.
even have colleagues on WhatsApp and WhatsApp groups at the same time.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just,
And
and
also there's that stuff that happens in the back of your brain, even if it's not
yeah,
coming at you. I'm very aware of constantly thinking of things. There's all sorts of
yeah.
stuff going through my brain the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. You're probably thinking of the next thing. You have a report that is due
Yep.
tomorrow and you're thinking, oh my God, I need to do that.
Yep.
Then you need to remember to pick up your kids after work. And,
Yep.
maybe have a birthday next week you need to plan for. And just so much like life doesn't stop. And your brain is constantly switching context. So the world and the environment now and the tools and the system actually we use are designed to constantly try to steal your attention. So even if you were good at focusing 10 years ago and it was just easy, it's 10 times harder now. And sometimes we don't understand that we need to change our game plan. We need
Right.
to adapt
Right.
because the environment is moving and shifting faster than our brain is adapting to it.
I would also add, I like the comparison you draw with sort of
Yeah.
pre-COVID and then COVID and what's happened since.
Mm.
But also it's 24/7, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's on the whole time. I find it now very hard to relax. I can't,
Yeah.
because there's always something. And I think also, I can do it. If I go way back before, computers even, I could actually only work when I was in the office. There was no concept of working out of the office.
Yeah.
Now it's total all of the time.
It's constant. You are checking emails on the train and then you're meeting backs to back, no break, as if we don't need to breathe or just like stretch our
Hmm.
legs. It's
Hmm.
just a continuous call for attention. It's nonstop.
Yeah.
And it's only going to get more and more demanding as we move forward. So it's important
So
to deliberately stop.
there's some things there that I don't think that we can change. And I know that your framework will bring me more control, but let's just take a glimpse at what a good day could look like. So if I get
Yeah.
myself together, if I follow a framework and put a process in place, what can a really good, productive day look like that doesn't leave
Yeah.
me feeling exhausted and frustrated at the end of the day?
Okay. So it might be easier to illustrate a good day by comparing it to a chaotic day. And then you can
Right.
start to see the difference because you're absolutely right. You cannot control everything and what comes at you during your day. So if we say we have a Monday mayhem being your chaotic day, and Monday mastered being your structured day, your planned day. So Monday mayhem, like 8:30 a.m., you walk into the office, and as you walk in, a colleague just pulls you for 10 minutes because they want to discuss with you a meeting at 10:30 and they want to align with you on some items on the agenda. You
Right.
talk to them for 5 to 10 minutes and then you go to the kitchen to grab a coffee and you see your boss and your boss then asks you to give him a quick highlight, him or her,
Hmm.
of about a report that you submitted last week because they have a meeting this morning to discuss the report. So then you spend another 5 to 10 minutes talking to your boss. You make your coffee, sit at your desk, pretty much almost 9. You open your email and you hit by 20 to 30 new emails and you just start responding to whatever seems urgent. At the
And you
same
realize you're
time,
late for your 9 o'clock meeting as well.
yeah, you're 10, 9. Exactly. And messages are being pinged in the background and so much are getting thrown at you and you're constantly running late. So you're starting your day already feeling behind.
Yeah.
The day just started and you're just feeling like you're playing catch from the very
Right.
beginning. And then suddenly it's midday. You don't know how the day flew by and you have a report that you need to submit at 2 p.m. and you haven't even started working on it. And you feel tired, exhausted, and you need like 3 more cups of coffee to survive.
Yeah. Frustrated as well, right? It's
Just like,
really frustrating, isn't it?
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you come in with the intention, like today I'm going to work on the report, and somehow your day is just stolen away from you, and you don't know what happened, and it continues, right? I'm
Yeah.
sure we're all familiar with it. We've all been through it. Now, think of if we were to apply the design to your day, plan ahead, and spend the day before planning your day. And I'll go through that a little bit more, but I'll just explain
Yep.
what a good day looks like. So let's say you've planned it, you planned your calendar, and now you're having a mastered Monday or a planned Monday. Same thing, same day, 8:30, you walk into the office, your colleague stops you trying to talk about the agenda, and you just kindly but firmly say, shall we talk about it before the meeting? I'll call you 10 minutes before the
Okay.
meeting, right? Then you walk into the kitchen, your boss, same thing, trying to grab your attention, and just say to them kindly and nicely, can I send you a few bullet points by midday if it can wait till then?
Right.
You make your coffee, so you're structuring, you're setting some boundaries there. You still do the work, you'll still respond to others, but not on their timeline, but rather on your timeline. Because your cognitive load can only handle so much, and you have a report to submit, and that should be your first focus. You make your coffee, you go sit at your desk, probably like 7:45, because you haven't wasted 20 minutes talking here and there. And you sip your coffee. Let's say that's you started your habit cue. You sip a coffee and you open your laptop. You don't look at your email. You don't look at your chats. You mute everything. Do not disturb. And you start working on your report in a deep working session, let's say 90 minutes. You finish by around 10:15, then you maybe grab a snack, reward yourself. I have a sweet tooth, so I always take a biscuit after any deep work session, or you just stretch your legs. And then you talk to your colleague about the meeting before the meeting starts. You align on the agenda, you have that 5-10 minutes chat, and you walk into your 10:30 meeting feeling um, clear because you've done your report, you've removed the most stressing item and the most urgent item of the day, you've worked on it, so you feel on track, and you've looked at the agenda before the meeting, and now you can focus. For that hour, you're focused in your meeting, and then you finish at 10:30, then you start your window of, I call it like a triage window for emails, chats, then you do that afterwards. And you can have multiple deep sessions throughout the day that way. But do you see the difference? It's the
Yeah,
same day.
absolutely.
It's
Yeah,
just that little tweaks,
I get
little
it.
easy tweaks can
I,
change
I,
how you
I was
feel
going to
about it.
ask you, so I can see that a really good journey to lunchtime. I get that, and it sounds
Mm.
amazing. I would like that. I'd like to understand how that compounds then across the rest of the day, across the week, across the month, across the year. You know, presumably that doesn't just get you through to lunchtime. There's significant benefits in doing this all of the time.
Absolutely. The idea is that once you implement the process, obviously there's a bit of tweaking, trials and error. You're not going to get it right from the first time. It takes practice and incremental change. But the idea is that you get to a stage where it becomes automatic,
Mm-hmm.
right? Your responses are automated rather than you having to think about it. You plan ahead your day, you plan your calendar, you block your deep focus sessions, you block your triage window, and you learn how to set boundaries with others around you, which means that over time, you are allowing yourself to work on the things that matter the most.
Love it.
I mean, I'm not saying emails are not important. Of course they are, but I'm sure we don't just get paid to answer emails, right?
Yeah.
There are activities and responsibilities that comes with the job title, and we are expected to do them whether we answer emails or not. So it's important to understand the core, what you're trying to deliver in your job on whatever you do, and build everything around it. rather
I,
than act in a reactive way.
I love that. And I often think, I mean, I'm a flicker. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll be working and I'll go, oh, quick look at email, quick look at this, quick look. And, it's very, very distracting.
Yeah.
And I suddenly realize sometimes the person that has sent me that email isn't actually expecting me to respond
Yeah.
immediately. And it's okay if I do it in 2 blocks of an hour or whatever across my day. It doesn't
Mm.
have a bad impact on the person who sent the email either.
This is the thing. Like you said, a really important point. It's a perception.
Yeah.
There's that feeling, and that could be an underlying feeling, maybe fear of disappointing others.
Yep.
Maybe we have been people pleasers for a long time, and we feel that responding immediately to an email is going to come across, we're trying to sustain that image that we are helpful, that we're good at
Yes.
what we do, that we're very communicative and
Efficient.
responsive and
Yes.
efficient. And
Yes.
if we respond to the boss within like 5 minutes of sending the email, they're going to think highly of us.
Hmm.
But that's our problem, because if we sit at the end of the day, I would say, your boss, your work environment, they're going to look at your achievement over time, not on the day.
Correct.
If you're
Yes.
responding to emails within 5 minutes, but you're actually not executing the work you were brought in to execute, then that is not going to stand as an excuse. So it's about us designing our life in a way, or our day in a way that delivers what we meant to deliver. Mhm.
You're absolutely right. I know that I have a job. I know there are expectations of me, and it's the delivery of my job that is more important. And I cannot imagine a promotion conversation where my boss sits down with a bunch of other people and they say, Jeremy always responds to my emails within 5 minutes. Let's promote them, right? It'll be about, did he perform the functions that we expect him to do? Did he deliver? It is, you said it's performance over time rather than performance within 5 minutes. And I think it's really, really important. Can I ask, if I adopt this, what do I look like to other people? So once upon a time, I was distracted, easily distractible, very reactive, maybe constantly stressed because I'm not actually achieving what I need to do. Therefore, that builds up in my head. And now I'm going to apply the framework that you've brought here today. What do I look like to other people?
So I would say the shift will happen in two phases. Is first how you feel internally, and then how then you appear over time. The immediate shift, which others might not notice immediately, but you will, is the feeling of being calmer,
Hmm.
having a calmer day, a more predictable day, and feeling in control of your day. Think of it as having more thinking space and being able not just to perform and just check some boxes and being busy. A lot of us are busy, but busy is not productive, right? But actually genuinely feeling that you are doing the work that matters,
Yeah.
and being able to exit from the reactivity mode and not just enter productivity, but also enter creativity.
Oh,
Because
okay.
creativity requires capacity. And it's impossible to have capacity when your day is busy and you're reactive to everything around you. In order to enter that creative mode, our brain needs to be in a state where it's not a fight or flight um, status.
Right. Right.
And that requires being able to know how to focus, free on your capacity, and being less reactive to your environment. Now,
Uh,
over time, that shift in how then it appears to others, I would say you'll come across calmer, more composed, but also you will come across as more in command and leadership. I think a lot of the leaders that I've worked with, at least, they have that tendency to think clearly when everyone is just panicking.
right.
They know how to focus, and they know how to quiet the noise and kind of look at the problem from a logical, objective perspective. And that comes in. You can't think that way if you're constantly reacting to your environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's the result of having a calmer mind
Mm.
because I'm more in control.
Yeah. A calmer, more focused mind, a mind that is not just surviving, but a mind that actually leading, being more creative, a thinker. Yeah.
I'm reflecting that what you're saying isn't a surprise. What you're saying is extraordinarily logical, and I can relate to it. I can also reflect on some times where I've decided to get myself together to execute a list even and just go, right, I've got 3 things I must get done today. And I dive in and I get them done at the cost of everything else. And you reach a point earlier than you think in the day where you say, actually, I've done my important things. And
Mm.
you can now almost say, pack up, come back
Hmm.
tomorrow, have another go. Or you can then fill in with some of the other things which are maybe
Yeah.
less important. It feels great.
Amazing. You feel in control and command, and you feel grounded.
True.
And that's actually something that definitely I had this comment from a friend who said to me, "You come across very grounded." And I doubt someone would have said that to me 10 years ago before I got into this whole journey, because you have a method of designing your time and your life in a way that keeps you grounded 80% of the time. So if life throws at you anything in that 20%, it's not going to throw you off.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
still stay grounded and command of your time, and you can handle chaos
Yeah.
that comes your way.
And coming back to my question about how other people see you and behave
Mm.
towards you, I can imagine that if you're one of those people where they throw things at you and they know you're going to drop what you're doing, react, take it on and get it done, you'll constantly get that.
Hmm.
That people will
Yeah,
not let you move away from that. And therefore, if you follow your framework, you become someone where they give you more important work.
that's such a good point. Absolutely. It's um it's what you reflect to the world. I kind of reflect back at you.
Yes,
So
yes,
if you're reflecting that you're someone who is not focused, is open to let in reactive tasks come their way, then why not? Everyone also trying to get on with that important task that they need to do for the day. And if there's someone who they can offload the, I don't know, the last minute task that came in, they will.
yeah,
They absolutely will, because everyone has a job to fulfill, and they find a way to push out something, they will push it out to someone else. But at the end of the day, uh, we're each being judged individually at our performance. Your performance
right.
review is your one-to-one with your manager. No one is in with you with the room, and you can't just blame someone else and say, "Well, X, Y, and Z just keep giving me extra work."
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Ultimately, you have to deliver
yeah,
on what you're being paid to
yeah,
deliver, right?
yeah,
Let's get really practical. So you've got the ultimate focus framework. It's something you've put together. It's a result of neuroscience and psychology and your own lived experience, and it's all come together. It has 3 core pillars. Before we get into any of the detail, perhaps you can just touch on what those 3 core pillars are.
yeah. So the ultimate focus framework has three main pillars. The first one is the habit shift, the one we've been talking about the most, and
Yep.
we'll go into it deeper. And then the second one is the fear reframe. And then the third one is the motivation builder. So the three together work really cohesively because habit shift is focused on systems and structure. So we've talked about the mental stage. There's also the habit loop, and then how to design your time and your day. So you have that structure and routine, and therefore you build a habit. And then you automate the way you run your time. So it becomes more of a habit.
Right.
That's the habit shift. So that's the system. And then you have the fear reframe. I see fear reframe is the mindset and our reactions and emotions. And it's more of an underlayer that touches on the habit shift and the day to day side of things, but also the motivation builder, which is long term life and planning and purpose. Because we have our fears, let's say, fear from failure at work, fear from being seen, fear from under delivering, fear from being criticized or judged. And we react based on those fears. But we also have,
Interesting.
yeah, and we also have fears that are sort of more life impacting. So fear of death, for example, fear of not being enough, fear of not belonging. And those are the fears that are sort of, we're thinking about them in the background, and they impact more of our long-term life planning. So fear
So,
comes
so,
in
you- so
different.
you- you're saying that those fears, which I think a lot of people will relate to,
Mhm.
come to play and they
Yeah.
drive what I'm doing immediately because of
Mhm.
those fears.
Yes, absolutely. And the fear can also be categorized into three main areas. At a very, very high level, you could say that fears can be answered or can be looked at in under three questions.
Right.
Am I safe? Am I loved? And do I belong? And am I enough? And does my life matter?
Okay. So when you say safe in the context of work, what do you mean by safe?
So that could be financial security.
Okay. So it's sort
Yeah.
of everything that if you're worried about, yeah, I don't know,
Losing your
maybe you're,
job, for example.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The impact of losing my job, therefore I can't afford my mortgage or my rent or whatever it is. And therefore my life is not safe. Yeah.
Mhm. I see this a lot when a company going through a restructure and everyone's job feels that it's at risk.
Yeah.
And therefore, you start to feel that maybe you need to be reactive to everything that is thrown at you and accept all the work because you don't want to lose your job.
Right. It's almost like
Yeah.
a hyper version of what we talked about earlier on, which
Yeah.
is I must respond to my boss within 5 minutes.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you can see that as well. I mean, we've covered kind of workplace scenarios, but even if we think about entrepreneurs and founders, for example, that also manifests when they are constantly kind of raising funds or have limited funds. So they become more reactive to the environment because they are worried that they might not be able to afford the
Right.
next season in their business.
Yeah. And
So
then start
maybe,
laying people off, etc. And then
yeah,
that fear, of course, will drive your behaviors. I
yeah,
understand that. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. Making certain decisions that are in the benefit of the long term of the company, just because of that fear of financial fear or fear of survival, or
Yeah.
maybe even feeling internally that am I enough as a founder to run this?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love those
yeah,
three fears. And I think if people are honest, they've all got them at different
yeah,
degrees and they all feel them. So yeah. So we've covered this habit shift, and we will get into the habit shift a lot more because it's something that people can apply today. And we've talked about this fear reframing, and it's interesting. I've never thought of this before, but if people who are listening or watching are honest, they recognize those three fears, and they've all got them in some degree. But that's not enough, is it? Because you need to be able to you need some kind of a sense of motivation,
yeah,
and you've got this motivation builder. What's that?
yeah. So motivation builder is around life purpose and doing the work that matters. So in the motivation builder, I focus on multiple tools, but the three main ones are the logotherapy. So that's the therapy by a guy called, or a doctor called, Viktor Frankl. And he's a Holocaust survivor. And he has a very interesting story of how, through life purpose and hope, he stayed alive during being in a concentration camp. So logotherapy focuses on the idea that purpose, or wanting a life purpose and a reason for our existence, is more important than just the wanting power or pleasure in life, which there are
Right.
other thoughts in therapy and psychology that talk more about that.
So
So that's
power,
the idea.
pleasure, and purpose is the three
Yeah.
P's I heard. Is that right? Yep.
Yes. But logotherapy is more purpose focused.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a motivation that kind of drives us in life. So under that tool, I go through things like live, love, and legacy.
Right.
And
Okay.
that's a good practice to kind of affirming your and shaping your life mission and your life purpose.
Right.
And
Okay.
that's part of motivation building. There are other tools, such as there's a one I actually really like by Debbie Millman. She's a designer and a podcaster. I believe she has one of the oldest podcasts ever. It's called Design Matter. And she has this tool. It's called 10 years life plan, or 10-year plan for an incredible life, or remarkable life, actually, to be correct. And it's about thinking very long term and planning with letting your imagination go and just thinking what a life could like in 10 years time. And then I
Right.
have other tools like the life priorities, and what are your top 5 priorities in life. That's one of the tools that I borrowed and I use from my coach, my life coach, Brendan J. Fox. He's a mental toughness coach that used to train athletes, Olympic athletes.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of amazing tools that I've actually learned from him. So that's the idea of it, is crystallizing your life purpose and having that motivation that keeps you going, and tackling the fears around it as well as part of that fear reframe. So purpose, mindset, the fear side of things, and the systems, which is the habit shift. Those three
Right.
together are the perfect recipe for ultimately owning your focus.
Right. And you've left the core of this, haven't you, in the download that people can download from
Yes.
the show afterwards, buildyouredge.org/downloads. But
Mhm.
today we're going to dive deep into one of them, which is this habit builder.
Yes.
But one of the first things you recommend is some sort of a self-assessment, because there's no point just blindly taking a framework and going, right, I'll follow this. You need to understand yourself first.
Yeah.
And then I would imagine lean into different parts of the framework to make it
Yeah.
more applicable to you. Would you touch on what that self-assessment is and how I use it?
Yes, absolutely. So I definitely start every tool with an assessment. Being from a tech background, like, data is very important. We make decisions based on data and facts. And I do want any coaching framework or session to be genuinely founded on truth rather than assumption or just guessing in the dark what could work. So the
Right.
idea of the assessment, there are a set of questions exist in every tool I have, and they meant to gauge and score where you are now and where we want to be.
Right.
So, for example, in the habit shift assessment, there are questions around how often do you plan your day? How often do you find that you're constantly being distracted? How often do you check, your social media? How often do you feel that you start something but you stop it halfway and never get to finish it, and so on? Different questions to just understand where you are at now in terms of focus. And there's a
And you've got to be
scoring.
honest with that, haven't you? You can't
Oh
you
yeah,
can't look at the ideal that you wish you were. You have to be
yeah.
honest.
Absolutely. You know yourself best, and you're not going to make progress without understanding the truth and where you are now. And that's
Right.
that's one thing we say in coaching: just answer the first thing that comes to mind. Like, don't overthink it. As soon as you start overthinking it, it's really, really easy to start to tweak your answers and think, well, I'm sometimes focused, but actually not every day. Then it just spirals. And just the first thing that comes to mind, that's your subconscious. That's
Yeah.
often the right answer.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
don't you? I've done enough of these
Yeah.
myself, and you kind of go, you
Yeah.
know the answer you should put down. Just be bold, put it down, and go, that's
Yeah.
me. Now, you
Absolutely.
with the habit builder, there are 6 core steps to take, 6 core recommendations.
Mhm.
The first one is design tomorrow today.
Yeah.
How do I do that?
So that's very, very easy. And the idea is that we don't start the day on the day, it actually starts the day before. So
Right.
design today, tomorrow is 10 minutes, maybe the night before. If you just sitting down with a notepad or maybe with your digital notes and just writing down what are the key and most important things that you need to tackle tomorrow. We call it frog. So eat the frog is actually a popular concept in like self-development. And the idea of it, the frog is that task that is really important, but it feels tedious, a little bit overwhelming, and you're just trying to avoid. Maybe it's a report that you need to write and you know it has to be done, but you just keep avoiding it. That's the frog. So write maybe one to two to three things that are important, so we can then pick one frog. And if you struggle to define one, then I would always say think about the thing that you could do tomorrow that will matter in 2 or 3 weeks' time.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the frog is important, isn't it? Because we all know there are things that we should do, but we don't fancy it. It's difficult.
Yeah.
It's boring. It's whatever. It's a bit long, a bit meaty. And
Yeah.
I love the concept of eating the frog, because you wouldn't want to eat a frog. So I love the idea of prioritizing that first.
Yeah. Just do it. When you do it, the sense of relief afterwards is amazing,
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
But then you need to define it, write it down, and then block time for it. So the idea, you want to eat the frog first thing in the morning, just get out of the way. It
Yeah.
sucks. Just
Yeah.
get out of the way. And before you get distracted with all the emails and the messages and the notifications and the day slips away. So ideally, first thing in the morning, even if it means sometimes starting before 9, if 9 is when someone starts, just to kind of have a front foot and have that focus time as you get into the habit of booking that in regularly. So a focus time or a deep session is ideally 90 minutes to 2 hours, but you can even start from as little as 45 minutes. Just some focus time when you're not looking at emails and you're completely in do not disturb mode.
Right. So you've made a pact with yourself that you will
Yeah.
focus on that thing for 45 or 50 or 60 or 90 minutes. And you've made a
Yeah.
pact with yourself that you will not go and check social media or email or Slack or anything until you've completed that time.
Absolutely. And to make it easier for yourself, use the tools that enable you to do that. You have settings on your phone, you have settings on your laptop to put yourself on a do not disturb, mute notifications. You can even set it up at certain times of the day. Like, don't rely on your willpower to stick to the plan. You might have that intention and you walk in the next morning and an email pops on the corner of your screen and you read the top of it and it's probably like someone senior and you just feel the panic wanting to just open it and read it. Next thing you know, you're responding, and then the next one, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Then you've gone
So,
away to find some other information and you've pinged somebody
yeah,
else to say, can you lean in? And before you know it's an hour, isn't it?
it
Yeah.
takes it takes actually, according to David Rock, it takes 20 to 25 minutes to refocus every time you're distracted. So
Yeah.
if you book a, let's say, a 90 minutes focus session, and then 5-10 minutes into it, you check an email. So that's a distraction. It's going to take you 20 to 25 minutes roughly to refocus on what you were doing. Next thing you know, all what you need is 2 distractions for more than like for an hour to just almost disappear of that time frame.
Yeah. So just to recap
Very,
then,
very, very delicate.
the first thing is design tomorrow, today.
Mm-hmm.
And as part of that, when you've recognized the big things you need to do, like eating the frog or some
Mm.
important tasks,
Yeah,
you then create these distraction-free blocks. So that's the
yeah,
second stage, which
yeah,
we've now walked through. And then you talk about setting your habit loop. What does
yes.
that mean?
So the habit loop is something that Charles Duhigg in the book called The Power of Habit talks about. And the idea of a habit loop is it has 3 elements to it: a cue, an action, and a reward. So, for example, my habit loop is that when I want to go into a deep session, I make a cup of coffee. And as soon as
Hmm.
I put that coffee on my desk, have a sip, that's my cue that my session has started. And then I get into it. And when I finish, my reward is usually a snack, something
Hmm.
sweet, always,
Hmm.
or just you stretch your leg. Maybe you go out for a walk if you have time to have a short walk and so on. And doing that repetitively, that builds a habit loop that next time you start your focus session, it doesn't take you 15 minutes or 20 minutes to get into the zone. Because at the beginning, it will be hard. That habit does not exist. So even if you sip that coffee, you're not going to immediately focus. You might just feel a little bit fidgety. You might just not know where to start, and it takes you some time. But over time, repeating that habit loop, you will enter focus mode very, very fast.
So it sounds like you pick something and you're very deliberate about it, and you
Yeah.
say, in your case, right, I know I need to go into a deep focus zone.
Yeah.
I'll make my coffee, which is a
Hmm.
bit of a routine in itself.
Yeah.
And then you sit down, you start drinking your coffee, and
Yeah.
that's your internal trigger to say, now I'm in deep focus. And
Yeah.
actually the reward at the end of it could be go check your emails.
If it makes you happy, does that feel like a reward? It could.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that if
Yeah,
otherwise it becomes a distraction that sits there. And if you're like burning away to go, I must check my emails, or you could almost make that the reward and go, well, I'll do that when I've completed my block.
it could. I'd say like do something that feels rewarding. For me personally, emails are, they have to be done, but they're more of a chore rather than a
Right.
joy.
Right. Right.
Because they do fry my brain. I'm dyslexic. So looking at emails is like that, the task that takes a lot of brain power.
Right.
Um, but it could be anything. It could be that even that you go on LinkedIn, for example, for like 5 minutes.
Right.
If
Right.
you like, or check the news of something that you like to do. Absolutely. Or maybe, yeah, respond to something that you've been eager to respond to. But it has to be something that feels rewarding. Like
Right.
it's a
Uh,
little gift to yourself.
and I'm with you. It
Yeah.
would be a big piece of gâteau or a
Yeah,
cake or
exactly.
something. It
I
would
love
be
a bit
like,
sweet.
yeah, let's get
Yeah.
some sugar. Yeah, I agree with you that.
A biscuit.
Um,
Yeah.
and the fourth one is parking lots.
Yeah.
What's a parking lot?
So parking lot is a place where you can put everything that needs to be done, but not immediately. So it could be even during your deep session, an idea pops into your head. You remember something. Um, just don't go and do it. Don't get distracted. Just type it in your parking lot. It could be a to-do list. It could be any form of like digital notes or organizer that you have bookmarked and you can easily access, or even your notebook, whatever it is. But you want to stop the distractions, and you want to have that parking lot so you can come back to it later and you don't forget about it. And that could even happen during the day. If someone talks to you about something, rather than you immediately trying to solve it, just write it in the parking lot and then you reflect and look into it and then you organize those tasks and actions that you need to do.
And
So
what's
that
the
stops
effect of
you
that?
from
So
just,
it sounds like it's now out of my head and
yeah,
it's no longer a distraction. It's down. I can forget it because I know I can come back to it and process it at the right
yeah.
moment.
It's like getting off an actor that shouldn't be in the scene. So if you go back to the mental stage and now you're in your deep session and you call
Got
the
it.
task that you want to do, let's say it's writing a report, and then suddenly an actor just wanders into the scene.
Yeah.
Because they do.
What are you doing here?
And then,
Off.
what are you doing here? You don't want to invite them and let them
Yeah.
interfere and ruin the scene.
This
You
is
just
not
say to them
improv.
later, exactly, just like, usher them out of the stage
Yeah.
nicely,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's what it is. So then you can focus. You don't want to crowd your mental stage. Don't allow actors that are not meant to be in the scene to jump into the scene uninvited. And that's the whole idea of it, that you note it down somewhere so you remember it later. You're just taking that actor off the stage, but you'll come to it because they will get a scene.
So once you have your parking lot,
Mhm.
number 5 is give reactivity a home. And that sounds almost like that process of taking it out of your brain and not being reactive and putting that somewhere. Is that what you mean by giving reactivity a home?
Well, actually, given reactivity at home is your triage window. So that's everything like emails, chats, all the communications that are coming at you during the day, assigning time to respond to them.
Right.
So we said that the frog has to be eaten first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
So let's say that was, don't know, 9 to 10:30. Then you can block half an hour of triage window. And that's answering emails, responding to chats, anything that you need to react to during the day. And you can have multiple of those. You can have multiple half hours or hours throughout the day between meetings. But the idea is that to not react constantly during the day. You don't want to be responding to emails every 30 minutes or every email that pops up, you respond to it straight away. Genuinely, if you think about it, what are the chances of 90% of every email that comes your way is urgent and you need to respond to it now? Very slim, unless there's a crisis that is happening and I don't know, the systems are down. And if that's the
Yeah.
case, everyone will be focusing on that anyway.
Yeah.
And you'll have the
Someone will
green light
find
to
you.
just
If
go for
that's
it.
the case, right? They'll come
Well,
and find you
exactly.
and tap you
Oh,
on the
yeah.
shoulder. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If it's urgent, somebody will find you. They'll pick up the phone and call. Like you will
Yeah.
know about it.
Yeah.
90% of the time, 80 to 90% of the time, is really genuinely not urgent and we
Yeah.
can do it later. We are just too afraid to let go and just focus on the things that matter because we're used to that reactivity.
Right.
Right?
So these are sort of
So,
islands in your day where you
yes.
specifically say, right, now let me go back and deal with the things that otherwise would have been distractions that I would have reacted to.
Yeah.
I put them somewhere and now I can go and process. And then number 6 is boundary scripts. And I suspect it's something to do with that, not reacting, but having something you say, which gives you the freedom to then come back and pick it up when you're ready.
Yeah. So that is setting boundaries in a way that you learn how to do it over time and learning how to say no, which is hard for many of us. I have been a people pleaser for most of my life. And
Right.
it's almost like being known for being the one who is reliable, responsive, helpful, and it becomes an identity. And it's so hard to let go of at the cost of our own productivity and our own progress. So the idea is that you have a few scripts just to make it easy that you can say if someone asks you to help them immediately. So let's say a colleague asks you to help them with the task, or maybe they've just said to you, "I'll just send you an email. Do you mind having a look at it?" Then you can script something really easy to say, well, how urgent is it? I am working on something. Can I come back to you? You almost like you acknowledge that they have something that they need help with. You figure out how urgent it is. So you don't want to miss out on something that is genuinely urgent. And then you offer them a time slot and you can just say, well, you know what, I'll come back to it at this time if that's okay. You
Right.
agree, you give them so they're not constantly kind of chasing you. And you can do the same with your line manager, even if it's someone that reports to you as well as a manager or as a leader. Something I notice with startup founders as well, that they feel as leaders, also as new leaders, that they have to be responsive to their team needs immediately because they worry that someone will drop the ball and a client will be unhappy. So there's
Right.
that reactivity. Like if someone in the team reaches out to me, I need to respond immediately because I don't know what kind of chaos is going to happen if I don't. Or maybe seeing themselves, they want to be the helpful leader and they've set that image in the company and they want to keep it up. But that is also not teaching your team how to set boundaries.
Hmm.
So that's important to just learn how to set boundaries and what to say at the right moment without offending anyone, but it's just genuinely being respectful of your time.
Yeah. At the beginning, when you were describing almost the better day, when you walk into the kitchen and your boss asks for an update, you then gave a boundary script to
Yeah.
position the boss so that you could give him the confidence, or him or her, the confidence that you will do it. But right now you have something else you must do.
Yeah. And it could be as simple as saying, yeah, sure, I'd love to help. Can I come back to you at 2 p.m.?
Right. Right.
What are the odds of someone saying, no, I want it? Like, it's unless it's urgent. Like it's a very slim chance that someone will just disagree to that. If you say it with confidence, if that script is in your head and you know how to respond, because it's also how we say things and how it comes across will impact how the other person reacts to it.
Right.
If I sound a bit hesitant, then they might think that I'm trying to get out of it
Right. So you're
rather
being
than
very
thinking
in
I'm,
control, aren't you?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. If I say to you with confidence, yeah, sure, I'll help out. Can I come back to you at 12? I'm like, yeah, great, fine, yeah.
So that's a whole bunch of habits.
Hmm.
Um, and if I'm the sort of person that maybe just struggles with the routine anyway, and now there's a set of habits, why is it really important that I put in the time and the focus and the energy to actually pick up a set of habits?
So it turns out that habits live much deeper than our conscious memory. It lives in the subconscious and it lives in an autopilot. So if you repeat something long enough for it to become a habit, then it's just ingrained so deeply that you don't even need to think about it. And that's the
Right.
power of habit. So the thing is, we all have habits. We just a lot of them are subconscious and we're not aware that they are a habit. And
Yeah.
until we consciously choose to change habits and to build new ones, then we're not going to make that shift and that change. Yeah.
I'm going to make something up now, right?
Yeah.
An imaginary person that might or might not be me, but let's assume
Mhm.
it's not me. Let's just say that you're a leader and you've got a lot of people that want your time. And so your sort of 8 until 6 type slot is just rammed with meetings because that's what you feel your job is, right? To be there, to be with people, to talk about things, to push things forward. But at the same time, you've got things that you should do, writing reports or building something or, working on a project of some sort. But because you feel this imaginary person that might or might not be me, feels that, my work that's expected of me in my working hours is being in meetings, the other stuff gets pushed into like getting up early and getting it done, staying late and getting it done, pushing it into the weekends. How would this imaginary person balance that out more so that actually I'm spending more of my proper working time working on those projects
Yeah.
rather than being in meetings and pushing it out to the weekend?
Yeah, funny enough, I know another imaginary person that might be or might not be me. Absolutely. Um, so who's been through a similar
Right.
situation.
Right.
And there are multi layers to this. And actually, I do have one of the pillars in the mind tactics framework, not the focus, but the kind of wider mind tactics is command. So there is clarity, capacity and command. And
Okay.
under command and leadership, there is an element of empowering others to make decisions. And one thing I come across a lot with leaders and founders is that they haven't mastered the skill of delegation and empowering others to make decisions. So what happens is that they get dragged into every single meeting because they become the bottleneck and the decision
Right.
maker. And they can't seem to delegate that responsibility. And their team kind of got used to the idea that whenever they need a decision or a major problem or whatever it is, that they go to the manager. They invite them. Like the automatic option is always to invite that person
Right.
to
We
any
can't
meeting that
proceed
requires.
unless Zara is
Exactly.
here. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. So that touches on leadership. So that's kind of also something that in coaching we can work on a lot. How to help your team manage and make decisions to a certain level. But also there's a culture shift element here. If there is a culture that has been set up that we accept every single meeting invite, we don't block time in our diary, you're not even allowed to take a lunch break, like, oh my God, they've put lunch break in their diary. Are they really seriously expecting that we're not
Right.
going to put a meeting at 1 p.m.? Of course
Are they
we
not
will.
serious about their
Yeah.
job?
I mean,
Yeah.
exactly. How dare they have a lunch break?
Yeah.
And we don't protect that time. And it's a culture that you expected to skip lunch if there's a meeting you need to attend. And no one gives you the courtesy of asking before even sending you the meeting invite. Like, sorry, I'm going to put it like, is it okay if we do it at 1? Are you okay with shifting things around? Especially focus time. Like many places are notorious of booking meetings in a focus slot. I've been guilty of it in the past as well when I didn't like master my day and started to respect more those focus hours. So the idea is that we need, as a leader, you start by implementing the framework so you can set the tone for the company. As long as your diary is always free and always has free gaps in it, someone is going to put a meeting because that signals that you are free, even if you're
Right.
not. But the way, because we live in a virtual world now, we're not in an office. So I don't like visually see that my manager is in a meeting and they're not at their desk. Not being at your desk indicates that you're doing something else. So I'm not just going to invite you to a meeting. Now it's all virtual. We don't see each
Hmm.
other. So the calendar is the virtual office in a way.
Right. Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
calendar's free. I'm assuming that you're sitting at your desk and you're not doing anything, even if you are. So it's really important to, even if you're working, if it's a focus session, even if you're working on a report, even if you need 10 minutes to prep for a meeting, put it in your diary to signal that that time is not free unless it's something critical. And if there is something critical, someone should reach out to you. So that's the power of planning your tomorrow today, because then you're making it clear and you're communicating to everyone in the team that this is what my day look like. This is what
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing outside of meetings. So then they're mindful when they invite you to something, knowing whether you will be available to attend or not. So think of it as a way to communicate to the outer world your availability. But and then obviously the element of the mindset of not trying to be the lead, the savior, and be in every meeting and empowering others to just make decisions
Yeah.
without you and just share the notes
Look,
from
look
it.
at
And you
me.
can
I'm in
always
this
just,
meeting. I'm obviously busy. Yes.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
absolutely.
So they're the core 6 steps of the habit builder. And I can see that, I can see myself applying those, and I understand already that I will become more efficient. But then you have this sort of secondary process, which you call the friction and fuel sweep, which you do less regularly, let's say once a week or so.
Yeah.
Walk me through what that means.
So that is a way of optimizing your process. So let's say 5 days, Monday to Friday, you implemented the framework. The first day you planned your tomorrow today, you blocked your focus sessions. The next day you then put in a habit loop. Then you started putting in your triaging sessions or your reactivity windows and so on. And you build up. The idea is that there are always ways to improve and optimize your week and day even more. And the idea of finding frictions is what are the tasks that you can automate or change in a way that will give you back even more time.
Right.
Example, let's say that you have a chaotic, you or me, somebody, let's say that somebody has a chaotic folder structure. Every time they're trying to reach for a report or a template, it takes 5 minutes to find it,
Right.
5 to 10 minutes to
The
find it.
cognitive load of trying to find out where that stuff is. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So maybe spending, don't know, like an hour the following week just setting up that folder structure in an organized way, bookmarking the folders or the files that you need to access on regular basis. What does that do? You remove the friction if you're having to search for that information, and you added the fuel, which is the new folder structure and the bookmarks and tags and so on. It means that next time you're looking for a file, we're talking seconds rather
Got
than
it. Got
minutes.
it.
And if you do that to multiple things, there's a compound effect. Saving 5 minutes here and 5 minutes there and 20, it adds up over time. And not just your own tasks on the things that you can remove frictions, but also things that usually demand your time. I get that a lot with projects that the team often, or just like other external like stakeholders, just constantly not finding information, and they come to me as the source of information. I'm constantly having to ping them files and reports and so on. But I learned that at the very beginning of the project, I would set the structure, I will educate everyone around where they can find things. But then I would automatically, under each meeting, I always put a link to the folder. So no one asks me before the meeting, where are the minutes from the previous meeting? It's there in the invite. You click on the invite and the link is there. Or I will put it on the email that I sent. So I then reduce the chances of someone reaching out to me, asking me for a file or a document. Someone will always do, but it will be one rather than 4 or 5 people. And they
Many.
learn over time. If you just say to them, it's in the invite, next time they will remember it's in the invite and they won't come back to you. And that way, you just reduce the distractions as well throughout the day. And you can find many of those um, frictions that you can remove and replace with a fuel. And that's the idea of it. You optimize and you're tweaking it, you're tweaking it, you're tweaking it. Yeah.
So it's like call it a weekly sweep. You look back and
Yeah.
go, what caused me friction this week
Yeah.
that interrupted my ability to be really efficient and productive?
Yeah.
Identify those, switch them into something which, either just removes the friction or even is a fuel which boosts things and makes things even more productive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Got it.
even like
Understand.
tools are there, like I see, like that's something with founders as well a lot, that there's so many admin tasks that you can just automate. Those frictions, like you shouldn't just invest in a tool, a pot that joins the call and takes minutes and circulate them. That's just one investment that is worth it. It removes a big friction of having to follow up with actions or tasks with your clients. It could be as simple as maybe creating prompts, pre-prompts for chat GPT if you're creating content, so you don't have to feed the same information every time. You
Yeah.
automate processes, anything that you can win back time and free capacity.
So Zara, that's brilliant. It's a set of steps that I know that I can apply. It's very logical, and I already can see how it would make a big difference to me.
Yeah.
If somebody's watching or listening and they're thinking, "Yep, I'm going to do this. I'm going to download the guide and I'm going to start to go through it," but they want to do one thing today, what's the very first thing that they should start with?
Plan tomorrow today. That is the quickest, most simple step that you can do immediately. Just 10 minutes, pen and paper. What is the one thing that is important and it will like meaningful work that I need to do tomorrow? Just that. And even if there's no space in your diary to book like a good 90 minutes working session, even if it's half an hour. It's building the practice. Just book it in your diary, that 30 minutes, even if it means maybe getting up or starting the day half an hour early, just to get into the idea of just sitting down, no emails, no notification, focusing. Just start there. Plan tomorrow, today, pick one thing that is important, block a short session, and do it first thing in the morning. Simple as that.
I'd actually go even further. I would
Mhm.
say, when I do last thing, just have a quick look at tomorrow and just get a
Mm.
view. I sleep
Yeah.
better. My
Mhm.
brain's now engaged. It goes, yep, you've got this. It's fine. But if you wait until you like walk into the office and sit down at
Yeah.
your desk, it's too late. So thoroughly
Yeah.
agree. Plan tomorrow, today. I
Absolutely.
love it.
Yeah. You don't wanna
Zara,
start the day feeling behind because you don't know what's coming at you. That knowledge.
exactly.
Yeah.
Be prepped. Totally.
Yeah.
Um, Zara, we've been through such a lot, and I know that we've only scratched the surface, and you can't get in an hour, everything to do with how to transform the way that you work. There's a
Yeah.
lot more to it than that. Now, you spend all of your time now coaching people, coaching leaders on this and other things. How could somebody engage with you to go further and find out more from you about this and everything else that you do?
So the first thing, we have the tool, and that's free, and you will provide the link for it.
Yep.
And someone can just start with implementing the tool. There's the assessment that you do, it's very self-explanatory, and start with the habit shift. That's the first thing. Easy to implement, and it just gives you that sense of kind of achievement that you've done something that you will feel the benefit of pretty quickly. Then, if you want to go deeper into the other elements of the framework, like the fear reframe, there are multiple tools under that I go through, such as the fear buster and like money mindset and like truth campus. And obviously, there's the motivation builder that we talked about. Those are all under the one-to-one coaching because those tools require um, like deeper reflection in a session with a coach, but also that level of accountability and that deeper work. So that would be just engaging with me in one-to-one coaching. I'm also active on LinkedIn, so I always try to post things that are useful for the community, tips around focus, and everything around coaching that could be helpful to others. So follow me on LinkedIn if you find that kind of thing useful. I would also be starting a newsletter soon. So that can be found on my website, mindtactics.co.uk. Sign up for the newsletter, planning to start it on 2026. And that will have a little bit more context than a LinkedIn post. So you can get more information. And I will be sharing tools and tips that can be useful, like in a good read and reflection as well. And very, very important thing that really helped me through my journey and should be like affordable for someone to start if they can go into one-to-one coaching is reading.
Right.
There's so many books out there that have so much knowledge. And just by putting into the time into reading or just listening, because I do audiobooks, so I learn through listening, can be life changing over time. So we've mentioned two books so far: The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg and Your Brain at Work by David Rock. But there are also a couple more that I would recommend when we talk about focus. So there is the 5 Seconds Rule by Mel Robbins, a very famous one. And it's more about like how to manage procrastination. This is a really good book. And there's also one that I read recently. It's a new book. It's called The Power of Unwavering Focus. I
Okay.
believe that's the name. And it's by a former monk. His name is Dandibani. And the way he explains focus, he talks about awareness and that how we shift our awareness rather than the brain. So David Rock like explained it in a different concept, but it's kind of similar to the stage idea, but talking about awareness and how it kind of moves um, in your brain. That's a really good book
Cool.
as well.
And
So many more, so many
we'll
more out
leave a
there.
list of all of the books that you recommend so that
Yeah,
people can go and find them. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And your guide that you've left behind is available from buildyouredge.org/downloads. You can go there. You can find the framework that you have left behind, plus details about you, details about this episode. I want to thank you, Zara. This has been, I think, yeah, there might be that random person that we're not going to talk about, but I find I'm very busy. I find I do a lot. I find I work really hard, but I still
Yeah.
find at the end of the day, I'm like exhausted sometimes. I've done so much, but when I stop and pause, I realize that there are some things that I just haven't done that I promised myself yesterday and the day before and the day before that I would start or get done today. So, and I'm sure that a lot of people who are watching or listening will recognize that
Yeah.
being effective, being deliberate, being conscious about what you do is so important. And it transforms you from this busy person that's doing urgent work to somebody that's really productive, that's doing important work. And there's a big, big difference. So I thoroughly recommend that anybody who is listening or watching, download your framework, step through it. And if they can do it, reach out to you and get some proper one-on-one coaching. So thank you so much indeed for coming on the show today.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. And I hope it provided some value. And to always remember that design and planning beats willpower every time.
True. Thank you so much
All right.
indeed. Thank you,
Thank you.
Zahra. Thank you very much indeed for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.